Hi, a very good afternoon, everybody. Uh, it is something to do with me, the sessions, and after lunch. 90% of my sessions, 90% I'm seeing. I'll discount 10%. 90% of my sessions, be it individual or be it panel discussions, are after lunch. So I have, being a performance marketer, we keep on learning from what we do. So I've learned an art of not acing the discussions post lunch, but bettering with engagement, which means that after lunch generally, I'm not saying you, but we all feel a little sleepy. Because the moment you have food, especially after lunch, तो हमारा एकदम ग्लूकोज का ना स्पाइक हो जाता है and it's completely generally went down in 20-25 minutes. So I'm assuming वो 20-25 मिनट हमें हो चुके हैं. But I'll start off with that. We were having 5 panelists and I was the 6th one, but you see 3 for now. So this is what performance is. Performance is not to do the things efficiently with the given resources, but it is to do the job efficiently with scale, with whatever resources are given to you. So we will try to have our conversation on personalization with scale. It's a dilemma for sure. I think for brands, I have worked on more than 100 brands in my last 16-17 years of experience. We have seen brands growing in the conversation of personalization, because there is so much of, see again, I mean, we all know that now it's no more a digital journey, or any journey, a consumer journey is very linear. It's not. So which means that for brands to make sure that they are standing out and they are able to connect with their audience or the consumer, they have to do something which is attracting that consumer to them. So which means that personalization is taking space a lot. But again, there is also a thing for a very large brand. I think that was a very good question which was put on that. Can we do personalization at scale? Because the moment you talk about scale, the personalization goes for a toss. I mean, it's a, think of a triangle which is inverted, that personalization stays at large. The moment you start drilling more personalization, the scale starts tapering down. That is what the overall experience has been. But we'll talk you guys through with experience which you guys have on your brands, on how specifically this challenge currently, not everything is for sure at rest, but whatever, with the help of AI, with the emerging technologies which we have with us, how it has been, brands have been tackling. I'll try to give my views that at an agency like GroupM, where we manage very large brands, how they are trying to figure out the life out of personalization and scalability both. So let's straight away jump, and I'll start with Aatika. We discussed, I think we were in fact discussing that personalization, it's sort of, the brands and the marketers wants to be very cohesive unit, but ideally they are not. The moment you pull one, the other goes the other way. So what do you think, what should be, are we in a space that where brands are able, or specifically you have figured out striking a right balance? Is it, first of all, is it true that if you pull one, the other goes away? And then I would like to also understand that what is the right way of striking a balance on it?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I hope this is a little bit more entertaining. Not going to match up with the lunch, but we try. So yeah, coming to your point, actually, personalization, creative personalization and scale, it's not like the one evades the other. There is a way to balance them. But if you go really, really specific, I think one of them would be lost. And for that, I can take examples of some of the things that we do as a company. We advertise extensions, and we do have a lot of IPs which are event-led and experience-led, and we end up selling tickets for them. So I remember for one of our very specific IPs, we had Hardy Sandhu come and perform. And he was supposed to perform in Bombay, and we said, why not? Let's personalize, let's use personalization to sell tickets. So let's find out the 500 most common names of males between 25 to 35 and on YouTube, and let's get him, invite them personally on YouTube, which we did. And the results are very interesting, if I were to say. So 50%, almost 53% of the consumers were very delighted to hear someone like a celebrity taking their name, asking them to buy a ticket and come see him perform. But we actually got messages and emails from the remaining people saying it was really, really intrusive. They did not really appreciate it. So that's a learning that we took. And then for the kind of brands that we sell, we figured out that maybe moment marketing or moments of consumption, like saying, oh, it's a rainy day, would you want to, for the lack of a better word, would you want to try a ginger ale tonight? So those are the things that are more things which can be at scale, because a part of India is experiencing rain and you can have that scale. But if you were to, really, really narrow it down to names and a particular city, I'm not really sure if it adds to the delight. I think, of course, some of us will be delighted, but think of ourselves in this room as consumers. How many of us would be ready for Google to have any device to have all our information and know what we are doing where? I think we have to have that balance between delighting the consumer, not being intrusive, and making the process or the user experience, much more enjoyable and fun. I think that's a balance that, we would need to do. But coming back to your point, it is possible, but it is only possible by testing and learning. Had we not done that, we wouldn't know it. So that's what it is.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point, Aatika, which you've mentioned, cited out an example, that there is a line which we need to draw between us while we are communicating to our consumers, that are we crossing that line?
Yes.
And it's not in theory. I mean, the example which you have put in, it's a practical feedback which you have got from the consumer itself. So I'll hold that point because I want to build on it a little more. But I'll come to Varun. So what do you think from a personalization at scale? I mean, are there two corners on the two different sides? Or if you want to, and how you want to strike a balance, or how you can strike a balance?
Hi everyone. Thanks, Guru, for that question. So I kind of agree with Aatika, right? I think you have to find a point where you're not intruding. I remember at one of the Super Bowls a few years ago, Google Home had done a campaign where they just had the ad saying, "Okay Google," and because a lot of homes in the US are smart homes, their Alexa devices sort of started, right? And I remember it got equal measure of plaudits, but at the same time, a lot of people are like, this is way too intrusive, right? You're kind of getting into our houses now and kind of talking to our appliances. So I think that balance is important, and I don't think it's one or the other. I think you have to kind of choose how you want to implement scale using personalization. I think choosing the right platform for it. So for example, a WhatsApp, great, right? Very easy to scale using personalization. We've tried different, so before Welspun 1, I was with Piramal Finance, where we gave digital PL, which is a personal loan, right? So having personalization out there really helped and made a difference. So when you compared like the CTR from a generic message to a personalized message, the personalized message was almost 10x, right? So there is a way to do it. You have to, I think, choose the right platform to do it. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And at the right time, you have to kind of figure how you can time it well as a brand to be able to kind of do it effectively. So again, as an example, we made sure we used to say at the last week of the month, saying salary is coming next week, do you need help till then? Like small messages like that is how you can also then find personalization in a sort of non-intrusive manner.
Sure. Just building onto it, Varun. Now, so we have seen that a lot of technology is being built DCO is one of it, although it's a little, it has been good 4 or 5 years that we have been talking about this and brands have been using it. But do you really see the response rate of consumers responding to the personalized either messaging or your efforts is literally or really different than a plain vanilla communication?
Yeah, actually I do. Because
And is it across, or is it sometimes it is there and sometimes it is not?
So I don't think you can generalize anything, right? There will be experiences from brand to brand. But in what I have seen, I have almost 7 out of 10 times seen a better performance when it comes to personalization. I think McKinsey had done a study a few years ago where people have actually said that they want to see ads that are for them, right? Like it was about 70% people had actually replied yes to that. The idea is, I think people are exposed to so much today. On every platform you're seeing an ad of some kind. So unless it really makes you stop, like a thumb stopper so to speak, you aren't really going to engage with it, right? Sure. If it's a PL, 10 people are selling it to me. If it's a soap, 10 people are selling it to me. So unless that is really, if it doesn't to me feel like it's speaking to me or it's made for me, then why would I engage with it? Sure. Right? Very few brands today have that kind of brand loyalty that I will only buy from you, irrespective of anything else. So yeah, I feel like I have seen a much more positive response whenever I've gone down that personalized route.
Sure. And Aatika, now personalization has a lot of levels to it. Mm-hmm. One is a communication personalization, one is an experience personalization. Yeah. So where, from your experience, I know it depends upon brand to brand. A lot of large scale brands, I mean, you really cannot do a landing page customization on a large base of, let's say, any FMCG brand, for example. I'm just citing an example. But personalization at what level you think you're, from your perspective, from your brand perspective, is most important for you?
So I would just like to add to Varun's point, because he was saying, just taking over from that point, I've got a cue. So McKinsey asked consumers, what ads would you like to see? And they said that what is relevant to me, right? Or what is personalized to me? The thing is, as we get into a place which is more and more cluttered and so much more communication, most consumers would want to see what is in it for me? What is that product? Does it make sense to me? Does the experience make sense to me? And at that level is the customization. So customization can be like, hey, this is based on your last purchase or interaction, this is the best thing. Or like he mentioned that it's the end of the day for a salary, and there are people who want to take a personal loan, and does it make sense for you? So understanding what your consumer needs and then personalizing it to that need, which should, I think, at some point include the product or the experience more than the name, more than a gimmick like hey Google. Because ultimately we are all trying to, like, if you look at the way our lives are, why are we wanting personalization? Because I want to spend less time searching for a product that I need that meets my suitability and my lifestyle. So if you're going to send something customized to me, good. Does that product make sense to my lifestyle? And amazing, it reduces my time span. So it's basically, you need to include it in the product or the experience, and of course the marketing becomes a part of it. And the other part is that consumers are bombarded with so many ads now. So if you want them to really sit up and notice you, one of the ways could be intrusive, calling out their name or saying, hey Google. But the other ways are so many other ways, like people who are interested in going to certain type of concerts. Can I target them with another one of the same kind, saying, hey, you enjoyed Coldplay, here look, someone else is coming, would you want to come and buy tickets for them? I think those are the kind of things that people are looking for. So as marketers, we also need to be able to put in perspective while we drive this agenda, that what the consumer is looking for. I think the minute that matches, it becomes less intrusive. It helps the consumer reduce his time or her time to search for what suits them, and it's a win-win for everybody. And honestly, personalization campaigns do better than the regular campaigns. That's for a fact. Now they can do 2% better or they can do 15% better. It depends on where you are in that spectrum of, are you addressing a need? Are you making life easier for the consumer? So I think that to me, you know, sort of works. And sometimes I feel like all of us should think like a consumer. Like if I were to want to go and buy an experience, what is it that I'm looking for? What is an event that I would want to, you know, go and visit? And if someone can say, hey, you know, you visit this last painting thing, would you want to go again? There's someone else showcasing something else. I would be happy. So it just reduces my time to, you know, go and find something. So I think that's what we need to sort of include in our plans.
So you mentioned, I think it's no-brainer that once you go personalization, once you do personalization at any level,
Yes.
be it at a very super pseudo, at a flat communication level, just changing a picture or changing the content of the ad, or drilling it further down to a landing page experience, you are saying, and we have seen that there is a growth.
Yes.
Now, being a performance marketer,
Yes.
what is the analysis or the cost benefit which you'll see, which generally performance as a marketer we see that, because we know that these personalized experience generally needs higher budgets.
Yes.
Now, be it at the creative, as I mentioned, be it at the communication, be it at the creative angle, or be it you are going to introduce some tech, or at the landing page, for example. Now, all are costly affairs.
Yes.
It only directly proportional to the you know, amount of data which you have.
Yeah.
So is it, I just want to, you know, just for a thought, is it a FOMO for us? Because it is talk of the town. A lot of my friends are doing it, and hence I want to do it.
Yeah.
Or there is a complete measurability as well.
Yeah.
That with this 2% uplift,
Yeah.
but I am also spending 6% extra, which
Yes.
means that my ultimate ROI is 4% down.
Yes.
So do we look at that perspective as well?
So I'll tell you, of course, I wouldn't say there's FOMO, but there is this need to experiment or utilize newer things that have come in the market. You mentioned DCO is 3-4 years older, but we didn't have AI to be able to optimize creative so quickly. So it's sort of, you know, moving hand in hand. But of course, the cost benefit analysis is very important. We need to see for every money that we are paying, does it make impact? But that may not necessarily be for every single campaign. You may run a smaller campaign, testing all this and seeing what your cost benefit analysis are, and then choose to run it in certain markets. But if you were to look at, you know, during the festive season, which is a huge time for us as well as all FMCG players, I think everyone can make use of it. Like, you know, depending on what region is celebrating what, you can just use those personalized creatives at scale with e-commerce and drive. That is a no-brainer, and it is very easy. It does not cost you a lot. So I think there needs to be some balance. Like, I don't know why I'm using the word so much balance, but I really genuinely think that there needs to be some amount of thinking of saying that, you know, what are the mass areas which will cost me less, give me a quick uplift in my volume, CTRs, people will buy it, and there should be these smaller, innovative, through the line innovations and personalizations that I'm doing to just check. What you can check is what level of personalization fits in your cost in the larger scheme of things and drive that. But experiencing it through, like I was saying, I wouldn't know before this that someone saying, hey Aatika, please go buy this ticket would be intrusive. It was for some people. So I think that it's good to use it, good to learn so that we can replicate it and move on.
Sure. Varun, we have talked a lot on personalization. I think there was other bit also mentioned in the topic, which is scalability. So if, I mean, although we have discussed that they can go hand in hand, and at point of time, there could be an imbalance as well. But scalability or personalization in your case, you know, you said B2B for now, and earlier B2C you were working with. Does that create a challenge that you go for what? I mean, based on, as you also mentioned, you know, it depends on the time of the season as well, that what you are looking for. Then you might pick personalization, you might pick scalability, and if you've given a chance. But from a scalability angle, will you shred off the personalization part and go for the effectiveness?
So yes and no. So I'll explain what I mean, right? A lot of times you will choose when to do it, right? So for example, like she mentioned, right, the festive period, it's, I think for pretty much every single brand in the country, is the best time to sell, right? People are more easy with spending, they don't think as much, they're more impulsive, the need is higher, etc. I think choosing, how I've done it previously, right, is if I understand that it has to be massive scale, maybe what I do is I look at what part of the funnel do I want to introduce personalization, right? Maybe top of the funnel I'll be slightly broader, slightly more generic, and then from there kind of build scale, and then start introducing personalization to kind of help convert the customer finally. We've seen, so for example, previously I used to work on this account called Tali, which are these makhanas, right? Yeah. And they were primarily US based at that point before they had come to India. And what we saw was this really interesting stat on the website that there's this particular comparison that we had done with popcorn, right? And late night snacking and things like that, right? And there was a lot of traffic that it was driving. So we started personalizing at what time people were seeing ads, right? So personalizing doesn't always mean name or city or whatever, right? It's even when you're seeing an ad. So we started running an ad from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. saying, are you looking for your next midnight snack? Order it now. So we tried a lot of those kind of things and then built scale. So we've also looked at what our metrics are organically, traffic, social media, etc. Built personalization into performance through that. And like I said, you choose like upper funnel, you can be a little bit more generic because you're trying to just get people into your funnel at that point. And then middle, bottom, retargeting anyway, personalization you have to do because otherwise it's really not going to kick for you, right? So we managed to find like balances in that sense when we really want to scale.
Sure. Aatika, I think we'll have this last question and then we'll open up for a question. So you mentioned crossing the line in the beginning, when you had 53% versus 47%. Now, as I mentioned, scalability, personalization. What are the levers to take care of to make sure that, it depends on brand to brand.
Yeah.
A very reputed brand will make sure that they are not crossing the line just because to add some sales to it. Yeah. Although they are very less. This is my experience. When we talk to the brands, there is always a scalability conversation for sure. But again, keeping all things in check, which at times becomes difficult. Yeah. So I was mentioning that what are those 2-3 things which a brand needs to take care of to make sure that they are not overpowering scalability just to make sure that they are getting more personalized to get more results. What are those 2-3 suggestions which a brand should take care of?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of suggestions. One is not like Varun said, not limiting scalability to just innovative changes and AI. Scalability can be done by time of the day. I mentioned occasions and stuff. So I think keeping that one check in mind. The other thing I think is empirically important, I think maybe as a woman it also resonates with me, is taking consent. I think just asking consumers that, because of course they take on a lot of TNCs, but just taking consent that we will be using your name to send you personalized messages. I think it's a very soft approach, but a very nice touch. I would be really pleased as a consumer. We've done that after the campaign that we did. I think that really works, taking consent. And third is adding to the delight. Like, don't freak them out. If you take consent, they know. They do know that at some point there will be some personalization, but you're not freaking them out because they've consented for it. I think these 3 would be my top 3 checks.
Sure. Varun, your suggestion?
I'm actually more curious as to how do you take consent and then sort of build scale, and if you don't mind me asking that.
Absolutely.
So actually, because I was saying, because we take consent through doing experiences and events. So when they come to the experiences and events, we say that you will be receiving personalized messages for Pernod Ricard events and experiences further on. So that is what we do, because then that is the audience that we'd like to spend the money on. They've been engaged and re-engaged, so that,
Thank you. So yeah, I think for me the number one is what funnel are you looking at? What part of the funnel are you looking at? Because I think if you try to achieve too much and try too many things at the wrong time of your journey with a particular consumer, I think it can one be very costly for you, lead to you dropping out on a lot of journeys, right? So I think understanding at what point do you really want to engage with a customer, I think is very, very important. Of course, and then timing. I think timing it correctly is this, because I think is imperative, because if you don't, I think it sort of goes hand in hand with my first point, right? I think if you don't time it well, in addition to what she was saying, I don't think building personalization with scalability is sort of possible.
Sure. We'll just open up in last 40-50 seconds. From a tech perspective, because I have something to share, but from a tech perspective, when you are going through the journey of scalability, when is the trigger when you say was stop? When I mentioned crossing the line. Now crossing the line, it was from a consent perspective, but now do you guys also see if the results are not coming up, and after 5, 10, 15, I don't know, there are so many brands. For example, the example which I'm sharing, one of the NBFC, they are reaching out to my WhatsApp from last 45 days, every day, same message, nothing changed. And I'm not opening that message because the phone has the ability to show that this message is from this partner. So I'm saying when to stop.
I think the thing for us is when to stop, and this is primarily for selling tickets for our events and experiences. Once you've reached out to them thrice in a week and we see no response, absolutely we stop. The other thing is we stop when, we also started including people with intent, like people who've bought tickets on, say, a BMS or Paytm. I think that is one good indicator. So if you're sending it to them and laying your own database on it, I think that sort of makes sense. But if they don't interact within a week, because events are very time based, like we advertise 2 weeks before, you've reached out to them thrice this week, there's no response, there's not even an open rate to that message or even viewed more than 10 seconds, doesn't make sense, stop it. That's what we do.
So does it make sense to B2B as well? I mean, is there any start stop, or it's always start for you guys?
B2B is very start-stop actually, especially for what Welspun one does. I think anyway the conversion is about a 1.5 month sort of long conversation. So what we use digital for is for that first interaction of bringing the lead in. And then we hand it over to the sales guys, because a lot of what we do is built to suite. So it anyway is not like a direct pick up and sell. So it gets a little bit more complicated out there. But I think a general rule that we use is have red flags for every platform that you're using. We are very careful when it comes to a WhatsApp. Like a Meta, we might be a little bit more open, so we'd have a slightly higher frequency there. But WhatsApp, we don't want to irritate someone, like you said, right? Like a bunch of these NBSCs who keep messaging every single day. I think it puts you off the brand eventually, and that can lead to far higher long-term consequences. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.